Yeah, it's just like I said, it's just difficult, with
Yeah,
everybody else.
it's
Oh crap!
it's just like
Hold
I
on.
said.
Oops. All right. Let me share this out to Twitter. Hold on one sec. How do I do that again? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it short. There you go. Just send it out. All right, we should be good. We should be golden. All right. Okay. Well, you guys already know who I am. It's Gaming Despair, and I got a special guest who I love having. Oh, I've only had him once, but he's still a special guest. My guy Michael. Michael, what you been playing, man? Gotcha. Well, how do you like the game so far, though? Yeah. Yeah. 1989 Skyrim. Is that what you said? Gotcha. Gotcha. So, like, what I wanted to talk about was like the PS5 negativity when it comes to basically, certain titles like Spider-Man Miles Morales or what's it called? Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, coming to um, PlayStation 4. The thing is that when I think about it, and people are getting upset about this because they're saying, a lot of people I see on Twitter. That's why I haven't watched Twitter yet. Hey, what's up, that fellow? Is that you or no? Yo, Michael, is that you, that fellow? Oh, okay. So basically, what I was trying to say was that, okay, so we have these games that are coming out basically on PS4 and PS5, and then, basically people are getting upset because of the fact that they're not going to be PlayStation games, PlayStation 5 games, I'm sorry. But, um, what's it called? I'm talking to Michael, he's an engineer. Uh, and so basically, what I'm trying to say is because of the architecture differences, do they have to develop a game separately for the PS5 and the game separately for the PS4? Or like how does it work? Do they have to I mean they can't just port the game over. Like how does it work? Oh, hey, Michael. Hold on, Michael. He says he can't hear you. Are you sure you got your party chat fine? Like where it's um like all up. Just go to the party settings and then switch it up to what's it called? Always can hear or whatever the hell it is. Hold on.
You hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, we got him. Death follow. Okay,
Awesome.
go ahead. Yeah, start it up. I don't know if he can probably hear you, but go ahead, start it up.
With the PS5, its architecture is vastly different, though it has PS4 logic because it has the same amount of processing cores called CUs. It can emulate PlayStation 4 games 100%. But when developing games, it's very different for development because they're two different architectures, and the problem with that is if you were to use the PS4 version of that game and enhance it, you will have a lot of problems because that's why, for a game-by-game basis, they have to upscale and boost the games one by one to take advantage of the PS5 because the architecture is different. So what they'll likely do is they'll develop them in parallel. So one version of the game will not compromise the other, hopefully. But here's the problem. Here's one problem. Because they're both the same game, they're going to have to play in a similar way. So what you'll see is the PS4 has to be able to handle all the physics in the game, or have a little bit of downscaling in physics. But there will be some limitation to the PS5 version, like you won't have the intricacy of physics as much because they're focusing on two versions, which cuts down development focus. And because the PS5 and the PS4 use vastly different CPUs, like with the PS4, you have the Jaguar 8-core system, and it's only 8 cores. With the PS5, you have the AMD Navi Zen 2, and that's got 8 cores and 16 threads. It's equivalent to 7 times the power. And it's capable of physics and decal far beyond anything the PS4 can do. So it's going to be like playing a PS4 game, but with just way better textures for both of them.
And that's the thing, like I don't mean to cut you off, but like that's one thing that I think about is like basically do developers have to work extra hard because the architecture of the PS5 is different? Because the thing is that, like, do they have to, like, what I was thinking, and I, kind of commented on this, do they have to build like two separate teams when it comes to making a game? Like, for instance, because Ratchet and Clank, we know it's not going to come to the PS4. But when it comes to Miles Morales or Horizon Zero Dawn, do they need to have two teams in order to work on specific versions of the game? That's pretty much what I'm trying to say.
In this case, yes, but only because it's provisional. Like, what they could do is they could make the PS4 version, but if they wanted to make them identical, just one better graphics, then it'll be easy. But they still have to develop them separately. They can't port it because the difference in the processing architecture and the RDNA2 architecture is vast.
Yeah.
And once you enable those enhancements, it completely compromises the port of the game, because the PS5 is sort of designed to emulate a PS4 perfectly, but it's not designed to like run a PS4 game with its actual capabilities. So those capabilities, they'll have to overhaul the game completely. So what they've done, because of that, I knew this, and one of my friends sent me some information that they're developing the PS5 version first and then downscaling it back for the PS4 version afterwards.
And how does that process work exactly? Like, how are they going to downscale it back to the PS4?
What they do is they use the same textures, but they decrease the resolution and they downgrade some of the physics where they can. But what they do is they just translate the coding to work with the AMD, not the AMD, sorry, the Jaguar 8 cores. They change the base code, but because they're so good at what they do, and both the PS5 and the PS4 were very simple, it's not as a painful process as it used to be.
Okay, gotcha. But do you think it would be painful?
I don't think it would be because though the architectures are different for the processor, all I'd have to do is find a way to get from 16 threads down to 8. So if they can reduce the amount of enemies on the screen and lower the quality of the assets, they can sort of fit everything into those 8 cores.
Yeah.
And by doing that, they'll have to change some code here and there. Not it'll be an overhaul, but because they've already done the game, it'll be just touch and go, and they'll be able to, because they know how to work on the PS4, they already know what kind of code translates to what thing.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. Okay, so since, games like, well, I don't know about Horizon Zero Dawn, but I know about Spider-Man Miles Morales. That game is being built from the ground up on the PS5. Will we get the same effect if it gets, the inferior version on the PS4? Like, we won't have that same thing, right? Or will it kind of balance out, or how does it work?
It'll be the same, but with less graphics. Instead of ray tracing, it'll use fake reflections, or maybe not fake. It'll use screen space reflections, and it'll use a different reflection technique that's software based. So the reflections will be less accurate, but they will be there. The textures will be less. The draw distance they may reduce that, even on the Pro as well. There will be less enemies on screen, and when the enemies die or go into the death motion, it'll be a little bit weirder. While on the PS5, it'll be more realistic. That's the differences that you'll see.
Gotcha. And last topic I wanted to cover was, people are calling PlayStation liars. I mean, put it this way, man. Like, honestly, with this whole epidemic and all that, I think that, Sony made the right move of bringing, Spider-Man Morales, because, obviously Spider-Man's a huge character, obviously,
yeah,
in the whole Marvel series and stuff like that. Maybe they made a business decision in saying, like, we should bring it out. And same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn, but obviously Ratchet and Clank can't come on the, on the PS4, because it's just not going to do anything with the Rift dimension changing and shit. Yeah. So I think they did a good move. I mean, I don't see any problem with it, but it seems like a lot of people were upset about it in social media, and I just don't understand the outrage, because this has been happening for a long time. I mean, games have been coming out, after generations and generations. I don't understand what the outrage is. They just keep calling PlayStation liars and stuff like that. I don't get it.
Yeah. I find it outrageous myself, because you've got to look at it like this. The games that we are getting for the PS4 are absolutely phenomenal. They're the best gaming has ever been in history. And it's the best platform for that quality and with that realism. And the thing is, we've got to look at it this way. We're coming out the gate with launch games that are taking advantage of the PS5, and we're getting all these other exclusives in 2021, and it's just amazing. So I think people have been maybe a touch ungrateful in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one thing to consider, Jim Ryan talked about this. He said that with the cross-generational support, it's temporary, and he said it's just because the player base of PS4 is 110 million, and we want those people to transition over to PS5, but we don't want to be abrupt and just cut them off straight away.
Yeah.
So that's Jim Ryan's bad for saying we can't take everyone with us, because he did lie. He said the games would be PS5 only after Ghost of Tsushima, and that was a lie. But
Yeah.
I understand that if they didn't do that, it would kind of be bad, because so many people are on the PS4.
I mean, I have my own personal theory where, like, I feel like the only reason they're bringing these games over to PCs because they want to attract the PC market. And then, so, it's like, hey, come over here, you guys are missing out. And then, pretty much entice them to pretty much just get them to buy a PS5 because, like, you don't have to spend so much on, like, GPUs, CPUs, and all that stuff, graphics cards or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars, but, basically the way I look at it is like, hey, come over here on this side because you don't have to spend too much.
You're actually right, because they did say that the reason why they put Horizon Zero Dawn on PC was to show PC players what they're missing, so that they will come over to the PlayStation ecosystem. They said that themselves. You're spot on, dude.
Oh
Very
no,
good.
dude, I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. It was just a thought that I had in my head, honestly.
Yeah, kudos to you, dude. You were actually spot on about that.
I mean, it's what it is. I mean, it's about it, bringing up a bigger group, with you and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about anything because, let's face it, let's be serious. Sometimes people talk about, PC and stuff like that, and I get it. You enjoy your PC, as your platform, but a lot of people talk about how, they're playing 4K, 120, 200 frames per second and shit, but we know the reality. A lot of people don't have that caliber of, components on their PC to be able to do that.
And here's another thing too. Because of scalability and PC games having to cater to a wide spectrum of audiences, with that advanced hardware, you're just basically tanking out a game where, like, you're getting the highest res textures, but it's not actually, say, next gen. It looks really good, but then when you get a PlayStation exclusive, that kind of gameplay and depth you don't get on the PC. You simply just do not get that. Like games like God of War, for example, don't come out on the PC.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing, and that's the problem with scalability. They have to simplify a lot of stuff to get it to work. That's why for when they say, 200 hertz and 4K, I'm just saying, yeah, but it looks very similar in 1440p, and all you're doing is boosting the frame rate and textures. You're not actually getting, like, into the next gen sort of thing. It just feels like it's tanking up or over-tanking a game that's just meant to be normal, sort of.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. But what do you mean by tanking in a way?
What I mean is the gameplay is virtually going to be the same, and the benefits aren't as much as, say, for example, if you go from like a PS3 to a PS4, there's a massive difference. But with PC, once you reach a certain level, it goes beyond the game's design, because the game is designed in the middle ground to cater for lower end and middle and higher a little bit. But then these people that go ultra high, that's where you reach the point of diminishing returns, where it's just basically more frame rate than quality itself.
What does that mean exactly when it comes to ultra and then diminishing the frames? I mean, diminishing the.
What I mean is that what these graphics cards are capable of, it's far, like, there's so many avenues that they could make them shine, but it doesn't happen on PC because what they're doing is boosting the textures and frame rates when they're able to do amazing things. Because if you look at the PS4 1.84 teraflop machine, look what they did with that graphics card.
Yeah, like
on
God
the
of War,
PS4.
Horizon Zero
Yeah,
Dawn, and all those games. Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Imagine like a 380, RDX 380 with that level of focus. What they could do. That's what I'm talking about.
And, here's one thing I wanted to ask actually. Now that I think about it, growing up, I started on the NES and Super NES, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, Vita, PSP, and all that shit. For some reason in this generation that came out, I never even considered a teraflop. I never even fucking cared what a teraflop is. You know what I mean? Does a teraflop even mean anything? I mean, really?
It actually, what it means is how many calculations a unit can do per second. It refers to a benchmark where the theoretical performance and how much stuff it can calculate and how many geometries it can draw, vertex shaders and stuff like that. But here's the thing. Teraflops are proportional to efficiency. So it is very much possible for a processor to have a GPU to have more teraflops and perform inadequately as opposed to a processor with less. Because one architecture will enable efficiencies better than the other. Whether it be in the design, the cache, or certain techniques, like for example with the Xbox Series X, they've got, with the RDNA 2 architecture, they've got VRS, which it takes away textures that don't need to be loaded. It doesn't rasterize them. So you're still getting the same graphics, but it's using maybe 30% less GPU. While if you have a graphics card 30% more powerful in teraflops, they will perform exactly the same if you have something that saves on that. And that's how it is. It's all about efficiency and technique,
We
as well
talked.
as teraflops.
Gotcha. We talked about this before. CU counts. The PS5 has 32, but because of the architecture, supposedly it cools the GPU
36,
faster.
36.
36, yeah. And then you were telling me, I think what is it? Xbox has 50. What is it?
52. Yeah,
52, but it's
Well, it
hard.
has 56, but 52 are active.
Gotcha. In your opinion, as an engineer, what do you prefer the most?
I prefer the architecture of the PS5, and I prefer less CUs with higher clocks because when you have more CUs, it's good because you have headroom. But if you have less CUs and higher clock, that extra high clock is boosting rasterization, the SSD architecture, texture fill rate, the cache size, and amplifying the bandwidth. So you're getting all those advantages. The only disadvantage is there's only so much you can have on screen because of that. But if you clock it high enough and you expand the cache high enough, you can accomplish 2 cycles per clock, which is what the PS5 does, where it's able to go through 36 CUs twice in one clock, which is sort of like having 72 without the ray tracing benefit of 72.
So like for
That's what.
so like for people
That's
who
why I
don't
love
so we're like for like people that don't understand what you're saying, like in layman's terms, like how could you put it?
How can I put it? Is the PS5's clock is so fast that even with less CUs, it's able to do so much more beyond its CU count. So when you look at the Xbox, it's 52 and it's 12 teraflops. Though the PS5 is 10.28, it's able to do the workload of 72 CUs because it does 2 cycles per clock, so it doubles up. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. And then some people were saying that, some, I don't know, some armchair engineers, I mean, some armchair wannabe people who think they know about tech, they said that because it has lower CUs, that it's gonna overheat or some shit like that.
Not necessarily. It depends on the cooling technique, and as long as you can keep it cool, it's fine. And with the power shift technology, that that is amazing,
Yeah.
and that'll definitely keep it cool enough.
Wait, what was it again? It
They
was called metal liquid cooling, right?
and then, yeah, there's liquid metal. I can tell you how that works if you like.
I mean, you could explain it if you want. I don't know how that works.
Well, how it works is, when you have you have a CPU, you put the fan on and it has a metal contacts, and you use thermal paste. It's just a thermal paste designed to fill in the microscopic gaps in the metal, and it conducts heat well. But liquid metal does it much better, at least 80% better. So you put the liquid metal in the middle, and it fills in all the gaps between the two metallic squares,
Yeah.
so that it conducts heat so well, it cools the system more effectively. That's how it works.
Yeah, Mr. Righteous Fish. It's what's his name? I'm pretty sure you've seen him online. It's Rye. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, Righteous, you could join us if you want. If you have any questions for Michael, you join my party chat. But yeah, dude, keep going on with that. Though, explain it. Like, okay, so you put metal liquid in the
In between the heatsink and the processor plate,
yeah,
and what it does is it fills in all the microscopic gaps down to the micromillimeter, so that the heat transfers off the processor to the heatsink, and it's cooled by the fan perfectly. So you're maximizing the cooling that you have, and it makes a tremendous difference.
gotcha. You know what? This is a side topic I wanted to ask you. Actually, now that I think about it,
Sure.
um, these new graphics cards like the 3080 Ti or whatever the fuck it is. Oh, hold on. Give me one sec. Rashid, if you want to join, just join in real quick. Okay, so these new graphics cards, the 3080, 3080 Ti or 3080, 3070, whatever the hell it is. Does that even make a difference, like when it comes to the PS5 and the Xbox, or is it just different, like on architecture? I mean, because obviously when it comes to
It's
PC, you're building it in a different way, right?
it's
Uh,
it does make a difference, because the new architecture is called Ampere. So the 3080 Ti, 3070, 3080, and 3090 run on the Ampere architecture, which has less performance per teraflop than the Turing architecture used for the 2080 Ti. So though it has more teraflops, it's also, those teraflops are worth a little bit less, but it's still more powerful. And the difference it'll make to consoles is, it is gigantic, because it has not it has just they just have way much more CUs and so much more bandwidth. It's ridiculous. So
gotcha.
graphically, the consoles might not be able to compete in raw power, but here's a secret. We haven't gotten the teardown of PS5's technique yet, because it has a custom
SSD,
architecture for the graphics.
the
No, for
SSD,
the graphics
IO, and
card.
everything. Oh, okay,
I'm
gotcha,
talking
gotcha.
about the GPU, because it uses cache scrubbers, and its clock speed is so high, and the architecture is so reliable. You can eliminate 75% of what's around you and only render 25%. So technically, it can be 75% efficient on graphics, as opposed to GCN, which the PS4 runs. And if they do the teardown and they actually confirm what Mark Cerny said, and they do a test on it, then that's going to make the PS5's 10.28 teraflops worth more than the Xbox Series X12. But it still will not be anything compared to the 3080.
A 38, yeah, but that's just the graphics card alone, right? I mean, there's different components that come when it comes to a PC, right?
Oh, you're talking about if you're building a high-class PC versus the PS5.
I mean, well, just in general.
One thing I would like to, I have to advocate for the PS5. Its I/O architecture is far beyond PCs, far beyond.
And that's what I've been
It's
hearing a lot, to be honest with you.
yeah. What it can do that PCs and the Xbox Series X can't is it can take assets from the system unoptimized. 5.5 gigabytes per second, no optimization, no matter what it is. So, like, if you whack your old PS4 games on an external hard drive and you play them off the external hard drive from the PS5, which you can pay them direct, that's if you want the loading on. But if you copy them over and you load them, the loading will actually be 1 to 2 seconds unoptimized. The amazing thing about that is the architecture is it's able to go from SSD and through to the graphics card without any driver abstraction or CPU overhead because its chipset does all of that. Well, on PC, the CPU has to decompress the textures, and that puts a lot of strain. But the PlayStation 5 has dedicated chips on the APU that actually do all this for it. So you have that CPU there, zero strain, and it can be used solely for gameplay.
Gotcha. So what I wanted to ask you is, like, I'm pretty sure you watched Deep Dive, with Mark Cerny. Do you think Mark Cerny made the right move in calling the way the architecture should be built?
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. I'll tell you why. Having 36 CUs makes the game super easy to develop for. That's why we're getting Ratchet and Clank, God 4, Rise of Forbidden West, and God of War 4 massive AAA games.
Yeah, 2021. It was pretty quick that they announced it. Yeah.
The reason for that is because of the architecture being 36 CUs means that they could make it so simple because it's so easy to saturate those CUs. The code doesn't need to be complex. So because of Mark Cerny, instead of waiting like 2 or 3 years between every exclusive,
or 6 years, yeah.
One year, or maybe six years, 6 months at the minimum to a year for a AAA.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy as fuck. Man.
Now that, remember how he said the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages? I think there's all the advantages of having high clock, but I kind of know what he means now also as a secondary reason. I'd rather that. I just love it, man.
Yeah, definitely, it's great. And to be honest with you, like, I know you know your stuff, and I'm still barely learning, but I could kind of understand what you're trying to say, especially when you put it in layman's terms, because I'm still trying to learn. But it's great to get insight from somebody that's actually an engineer rather than somebody that's an armchair tech guy, that pretends they know everything when they actually never been in the field. And that's one thing that I hate, because everybody listens to them, and then when they get proven wrong, they look stupid, but they won't say anything like, "Oh, I was wrong." They don't say anything. I hate that, man. It's stupid.
They just gap it and think everything's gonna be fine. The problem is with them is that they think that they can look at a spec sheet and just automatically this number is bigger than this number, so I know it works. But they need that higher expertise and knowledge that you get from university to understand how the different components work together to create performance.
Yeah, and that's the thing, dude. It brings me to the point where I was watching. I've mentioned this a couple times, but it was Cortex. Cortex ended up saying that we've come to a generation where numbers on paper just because they seem higher doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a more powerful system, because we come to a generation where numbers on paper don't actually mean anything. It actually has to do with, like, the whole architecture build, and that's why he was praising the PS5, and he said that he thinks PS5 already won the console space, the whole
Yes.
console generation, because just due to the whole architecture alone. Um, and he ended up saying, what was it? Yeah, well, he just ended up going off, on it, but that's what it was. But yeah,
He's
that's
right.
pretty much what he said.
He's right for two reasons. One, because it's so simple, and two is because of the I/O infrastructure.
Hmm.
It's because with the Xbox Series X, here's the problem. It's 2.4 gigabytes per second,
Yeah,
but that's sporadic. It's not actually always going to be that speed, because the problem is it lacks something called priority queues. So when you get to certain parts of the SSD, the different stage, say coherence, you're like, when you're checking the data and when you're trying to load it, there are dips in performance, and the Xbox Series X has a bottleneck lacking the supporting chipset. It doesn't have I/O co-main processors like PS5, so what happens is it'll fluctuate from 2.4 down, up and down. It'll fluctuate about 60%. So it'll actually drop below 2.4 when it's trying to load games, and it needs heavy optimization just to maintain 2.4.
by the way,
The PS5 just 5.5 all the time.
5.5, but his maximum is 22 gigabytes, isn't it, or something like that?
Yes, yeah, that is how freaking what they designed it to reach 22 gigs, so that it can always reach 5.5 no matter what.
Gotcha. So let me ask you
That's
one.
what they done.
Let me ask you one question. I noticed that some people are confused about this, and I don't know it myself. But what exactly is a, or just
A
in general?
bottleneck is when you have massive performance, but then there are other factors of the architecture that deduct from the final result. For example, Xbox Series X bottleneck would be 2.4 gigabytes per second, but when you're streaming data and it gets to a sector where there's so many indexes, it'll drop below 2.4. That is the bottleneck. Or, for example, if you have 12 teraflops, but you need to write instructions in the code to saturate all the graphics card to use that power, but you want to maximize it. If you don't saturate it, you'll be outputting 12 teraflops, but you'll only be displaying 10, 9, or 10. That's a bottleneck. It's when architecture deducts from the power of the system.
Gotcha. It's a little confusing, but I gotta do a little more research on that. Well, I mean, coming from an engineer, I can understand. I mean, you've pretty much been in there. Oh shit, man. You know what? I think I'm just gonna wrap it up from right there. Unless you got anything else you want to talk about, or you want to say, or
Just one last thing I'd like to say is that with the PS5, I know a lot of people are worried about performance and stuff. I'll tell you now, it will not have a problem with performance.
mm,
The variable, they don't affect frequency much. They change the power levels. Like, you take away 50 watts out of the 300 that PS5 has, away from, say, the graphics card or processor, it'll only reduce the frequencies of both graphics card and processor at any time by maybe 1 or 2%. Like, that's the lowest it gets. Even the worst case scenario, where if it gets hot, it'll only drop by a very, very small percent. Not even 20% of a gigahertz, maybe 10% of 1 gigahertz. Maybe instead of instead of 10.28, you might get 10.21 teraflops. That's the lowest it'll drop to. So it's. I just wanted to say it's the same for the CPU. I just want to let people know it's not what these YouTube Xbox centric people make out to. They just want to make the PS5 look crap. That's it.
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, like I think it's the same way. Especially you have
Yeah.
some certain people, but I'm not gonna mention names. And sometimes the shit they say and they talk, you know, like one specific person does reviews going to Walmart and doing fucking reviews on TVs and shit, man. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, you know, it's not even a breakdown. It's some stupid shit. But you know how it is, man, dude. Like, people will do
And then they
anything.
got their white table and their black freaking speakers, and you're like, why? No white speakers and black. And you're like, why would you have white speakers there? And then comparing the TV, you're just like staring at the table
It,
because it looks so weird.
and here's the thing. Here's the thing. The thing is that I'd rather talk to people like you, who's actually educated in this kind of topic, because I'm not gonna be the type of person that goes out and says some dumb shit where I make myself look stupid, because that's not the kind of person I am. Because if somebody called me out, man, I would feel embarrassed. But some of these guys, I'm not gonna mention if it's Xbox, PlayStation guys, but man, I would feel embarrassed. I wouldn't even say shit. You know what I mean? Until like actual, you know, data coming out, or you know, from people in the field. You know, when it comes to gaming, the gaming industry. And
Yeah.
I just don't know how they do it, man. I wouldn't be able to show my face if you know that happened.
Like, when you question them on something, they see what you've written, but they do not acknowledge it, and then everybody sees that, and they just move on like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
And you,
some of these YouTubers, like they'll post something, right? And then when you call them out on it, they don't even reply. They just stay shut. They shut the fuck up. That's all they do. It's kind of pathetic if you really think about it. You know what I mean?
it
Because like
is.
for me, if I were to make a statement, I have to back my claim up. Because if I don't back my claim up, I look stupid. And
Yeah.
maybe they have a fetish for it. I don't know. It's weird.
And here's the thing: I bet you that if you ask them things off the cuff or like straight up, they will they will flop. Like, they won't be able to answer it because a lot of their knowledge they read it up. Like, as you've seen with me, you've asked me all these questions straight away, answered, nothing to read, nothing in front of me, you just answer every single question. That's when you know they know what they're talking about, and they can just answer it immediately.
Yeah. I mean, that's
But
why I
yeah,
like
it's
you,
just
man. You cool as fuck, dude.
you too, dude. You're. I really enjoy being here. It's a lot of fun.
All right, man. I think I'm gonna end it right now. Well, everybody, you guys know I'm gaming despair. Uh, Michael, man, what's up, man? Like, where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter under Michael. I think you've got my Twitter. It's just Michael,
Just Mike,
and
just
it's
at Michael.
at my. It's got a bunch of numbers after it.
Well,
It's
hey,
like,
well, if you guys follow
okay,
me,
wait,
you
wait,
guys
wait,
will
wait,
be
I've
able
got
to
it.
find them.
Michael 38794 809. But that's easy to remember.
Gotcha. Mr. Righteous Fish, he goes by Rashid. He's Rye on Twitter. He said Michael's a good guy.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, man. I'm just gonna end it, man. Dude, I had a lot of fun talking to you, man, bro. That was
You
really
too,
cool.
man. You have a wonderful.
All right, brother, man. Talk to you later, man. Peace. Wait, what? Thought I ended you. Oh shit. Ah, fuck.